And we're back. I've made significant progress, so it's time for another video. And the progress is we now have a seat. The seat opens and closes and is lockable. Turn the key, seat opens, close it down, can't open it, seat is secure, turn the key, seat opens, happy days. It's taken an awful lot of work and effort to get to this point, so I'll show you what I've done. Last video you saw I just put these seat supports in, so they're welded in and they've got the threaded hole in the bottom there. This is right angle section aluminium, 100mm by 100mm by 6mm thick. In inches, that's 4 inch by 4 inch by 1/4 inch thick. It runs this front to back section here. This is aluminium round bar. It's 32mm thick, or 1.25 inch, sorry, diameter should I say. And that is what these supports are made from. I beg forgiveness from the god of rat bikes. I've put chrome onto my bike, but this hinge was the easiest thing I could get to work. I had to make a little latch in here, and in here is the seat lock. So it drops down. There you go. That shows you the difficulty of holding a phone and trying to do a two-handed job. I'll take this off and show you how the seat lock works. Here you can see this is the Honda Fireblade seat lock that I showed you in a previous video. This here is a really cheap and cheerful, it's called a cam lock, that I just bought from my local hardware store. It was about £5. If you buy the equivalent thing from Honda, which sits on this bracket, they charge you about 30 odd. Well, not even that. That's from a Wreckers. If you buy the genuine Honda key and switch, key and lock together, they charge you a lot. You don't need it. A cheap and cheerful £5 cam lock does exactly what you need it to do. Look into there. You can just see that all it does is it draws that catch back. Beautifully simple, no cables. This is the way to do it, I reckon. I've done it a couple of times now on other seats. Let me put it back together. Before I put it back together, I'll just give you a view of how I've done the underneath here. Now I could have had the seat, this seat base, sitting directly on at this level here, but I had plenty of other bits of aluminium lying around, and so I used two of these bits of flat bar here as a spacer. So that gives me the option to play around with seat height. I am 6'6" tall. I'm in my 40s and I've got some sports injuries to my knees, and so I don't like sitting with my knees too tightly bent for too long. And modern bikes are often got the seats far too close to the pegs for my liking, so I'm used to making my seats higher up. I end up sitting halfway on the pillion seat anyway, so for me to raise the seat, it's always a good idea. It just makes it so much more comfortable. So I've given myself a bit of height adjustment there that I can easily do. However, not everybody has to do this. If you really didn't want to have a higher flat seat, you can use this stuff, which is channel. Obviously I've only got about 15mm left of it here, but you could buy a bigger length of it, and instead of having these on with a horizontal top surface here, you could put this on parallel to the frame like that, and you could have a seat base that bolts on parallel to the frame, and then later on you get a triangular shaped cushion of foam made, and you could end up having a much lower seat. But I don't want to do that. I'm tall. I want it to be comfortable for me, but I suggest everybody makes a bike that's comfortable for them. That's the seat back together. Now, the seat base. This is the stuff here. It's called polyethylene board, or HDPE, high density polyethylene. It's the same plastic that a kitchen chopping board is made from. Now, this that I've got here is 20mm thick. That's probably more thick than it needs to be, but even so, at 20mm thick, it weighs practically nothing. And it's really strong. There's a lot of industrial uses for this, and I'm told that they've stopped using marine plywood in a lot of areas and they start to use this stuff instead. I've done this exact same seat design before on other bikes, and the last time I did it I had 18mm board, but somebody was selling a big board of 20mm thick on eBay quite cheaply, so I bought that. However, cutting it turned out to be a pain in the arse. You can cut it, you can saw it, you can use a grinder, but it made a fucking mess. So some of the websites that sell this stuff do have a cutting service, and for the sake of an extra few quid, you know what, next time I'm going to get them to cut it for me. I was having a bad day the day I cut it because I fucked up and cut the wrong angle here, so that's why we've got this mysterious Frankenstein plate of metal here. That's where I've had to put in another piece. Fortunately, there's no weight going over there, but there's going to be some seat cushion sitting on it. So, and that's just a bit of angle section, or bit that's sectioned into a right angle. You can see that the way to make this shape here is you drill the biggest hole you can, and then you get a square section file and make each corner. And you just file through here. Doing all this was a pain in the arse. It took fucking ages to do, but hey, I'm here at last. Now, one other thing to note, you can see I've got all these screw holes here that I ended up not using. The lesson is I fucked up. Now, look at the shape of your legs. Your legs form an inverted V shape. So that's the shape that you want your seat to make. You'll notice when you look at any motorbike seat, at the front of the seat they get narrow, and they also slope in at quite a sharp angle, but then they get fatter at the back for you to sit your arse on. The mistake I made was that I had my seat base too wide at the front, and so it hurt, and it basically forced my legs to be splayed out too much to be able to hit the ground properly. So that's why I've had to do, I did lots of different holes here. I was getting this in to be a narrower angle. Anyway, no one can see it. No one can see this mistake I made here, because that's going to get covered with seat foam, and no one can see this in the outside world here. So only millions of people on YouTube know that it's there, but for everybody else, it's a secret. And best of all, I've now got this massive storage area that I can store tools or a lock or something like that in. The unfortunate thing is I've got a battery here, so I can't chuck in my spanners in case they short across the terminals. What I will do is I'll use my my polycarbonate and make a box that goes across a protective layer here. But I've still got masses of room to store tools underneath the seat, and I'll probably put in now that this is a safe locking compartment, I'm going to wire in a cigarette lighter socket so I can leave my mobile phone charging under there, and I can have it locked up and walk away from the bike and no one can nick it. So there you go, that's how you make a raised up seat base with storage panel underneath with a lock, and because it's made from mostly alloy and lightweight plastic, it doesn't weigh too much. See you in the next video. Bye. In case you're wondering why there's a funny V shape, it's to clear the tank mount at the back. Right, now I'm gone.